Tonight, leaders in Huntington Beach are continuing to push back against the state's mandates to build affordable housing. California Governor Gavin Newsom had some strong words for the city when Alex asked him about it last week.
They're trying to scapegoat. They're trying to point fingers. They're not doing their job, period, full stop. And by the way, that's not just my word. Don't take my word for it. That's what the courts have been saying in Huntington Beach over and over and over and over and over again. They keep losing. Taxpayers wasting millions of dollars. It's virtue signaling, pure politics, theater. And the AG, I applaud our Attorney General, I applaud the legislature. We have a housing and now homeless accountability unit, and we mean business. At the end of the day, state vision on homelessness and housing are realized at the local level.
Last week, Newsom signed a package of laws that includes fines against cities that refuse to comply with this new state housing law. Here to respond is the elected city attorney of Huntington Beach, Michael Gates. Good to have you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
You heard the governor loud and clear. Your response?
Well, Huntington Beach historically has done more for affordable housing than any other city in our region. We've actually done a remarkable job. What the state wants us to do is roll over to these high-density housing mandates to cram down really a 50% increase in the city's entire housing stock overnight. And that just presents a wanton disregard for not only our infrastructure, our police, our fire, but also the environment. And so we are pushing back. We are in court, as you know, in heavy litigation. And so, you know, to me, it just looks like more grandstanding by the governor. It's bully pulpit type of stuff. Huntington Beach is incredibly responsible. We're 100% built out in Huntington Beach. And so if we were to roll over to Governor Newsom's mandates, we would literally be destroying our city. And so, like I said, we're not willing to do that. We're standing up and we're pushing back.
So you obviously then acknowledge the housing affordability issue in California, in Huntington Beach, so it comes down to a space issue.
Well, for Huntington Beach, we're fully built out, and we have 81,000 dwelling units. And so what the state is asking or demanding is that we increase our entire housing stock by 50%. So we have to redevelop property in order to accomplish that. And what Governor Newsom won't recognize or acknowledge is that there is zero empirical data, zero, to support that more high-density housing translates into more affordability. In fact, Governor Newsom lost $24 billion that was dedicated to helping the homeless and to creating shelter. He lost $24 billion last year. And so while he's losing billions of dollars, we are actually being good stewards, and we're trying to protect our environment and provide housing, but in a way that the city of Huntington Beach can handle and can manage, really sort of in spite of these state mandates.
Yeah, so you're referring to the audit that came out just this past April, in which, yes, it was noted that $24 billion was, in fact, there were no receipts from the state on that was money used to help the homeless crisis. Where you talked about the legal battle that you are in currently, where does that stand? Because you're currently in appeal. Yeah,
so very interesting and good question. So back in March of 2023, the state sued Huntington Beach because we didn't have a compliant housing element, so they allege. And the state ran into court and said, within 120 days, Your Honor, we want a court order to force the city of Huntington Beach to adopt a housing element and to adopt all of this high-density housing quota that the state is demanding. And now here we are nearly 2 years later with no court orders, no fees, no fines, no penalties. We're up on appeal. And so this litigation has had its ups and downs. But Governor Newsom's remarks that we keep losing in court, it seems to be every week, that's utter nonsense. We haven't actually lost anything in this case. As I said, litigation has its ups and downs. We're now up on appeal, and we're not due back in state court until March of 2025.
Oh, my goodness. So that would mark 2 years after the first suit was actually filed.
Exactly.
That's amazing. So last week, Governor Newsom out there, one of the bills they signed was that for those who don't comply, like Huntington Beach, you would be fined up to $50,000 a month if you don't comply. So how far are you willing to take this, noting that this effort is taxpayer funded?
So our city council has said repeatedly that we're willing to go all the way, the full distance. So with the California Supreme Court and the U.S. Supreme Court in our federal case, if need be. The fees and fines that he just signed into law arguably don't apply to charter cities, but even if they do, arguably don't apply to this case, because as we have talked about, this lawsuit is now almost 2 years old in the courts. So he can't retroactively go back and try to punish Huntington Beach for a suit that was already, or a case or a situation that was already filed over, almost 2 years ago.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, we'll continue to watch this one because we know it's going to take some time for it to be, all evened out here. Michael Gates, City Attorney with Huntington Beach, thanks so much for making the drive up and being here tonight.
Thank you.